This is actually super cool. It's actually really different than the two ships I was on in South Carolina. They're metal and they have, like this decking looks wood, but those other ships had metal and they actually had an elevator that the airplanes came out on. But look at this airplane. Just hanging out here. And it looks like one that lands on water. But this is huge. And this is all gunnery. They have all these little signs that talk about all the guns and stuff. I'm not going to stop and read them all to you because there's actually a lot of information on them. But I used to think this stuff was cool. Well, not used to. I actually still think this stuff was cool. I used to work for an accountant in Arizona when I was like 15 years old. And 15 or 16. And he had on his desk all kinds of pictures of World War II airplanes. Now the World War II airplanes that I see now, they don't have the same pictures like he had. Because his airplanes had pictures of women painted on them. It was actually pretty cool. But now I guess that's considered disrespectful, so they've taken all those off of the airplanes that I see when I go touring and covered them up with different things. But he also had pictures of cool ships because his cousin was in the Navy. So he was in the Air Force, he was in the Navy. My grandfather was also in the Air Force and had cool pictures of airplanes that we would talk about. That's where I learned some of my first weird bad words. This is just the North Carolina coastline. There's a Coast Guard over there. Coast Guard ships are pretty big too. I didn't know that. I don't know why I expected them to be smaller, but I did. And then there's a walking deck over there that I will check out in a minute, but I just wanted to see. I saw a brochure about this at one of the visitor centers and I was like, holy cow, look at that. USS North Carolina, 1908. But look at how big those guns are. That's amazing. And whatever it is, that sonar or whatever that thing is up there is actually going. Well, aside from the airplane behind me, you could hear the trumpet in front of me. Oh, look. I've never been up this close to one of these guns. Look at that. I know that thing's supposed to hold your shoulder. Don't ask me how I remember learning that. Look at that. That's them pointing up. Okay, this is the turret room, which is crazy because this thing is huge. And check this out. This is the little seat they sat on. Pretty crazy. Look how small the steps are in the opening. I'm actually going to go down and go under there, but I'm going to stop recording so I don't fall. That's where the missile loads into the gun. Isn't that crazy? Can you see it down there? And then it slides into there. And then it goes out there and gets shot off. That's pretty cool. But this is that turret room. And it shows different parts of the machinery. But the crazy thing is, look at how close quartered it is. Guess that's what a computer would have been back then. I told you guys on this trip I'm going to go see all kinds of things and everybody's going to think it's weird. But I don't care because I'm fascinated by different things. So those are like wooden mannequins, loading those missiles into that gun. And I'm going to climb up this to see. And try not, sorry, it's going to get shaky because I'm climbing inside a freaking battleship. That's what's cool. I am climbing inside a battleship. This thing says it is a turret number 3 transfer panel. I don't know what that means. We'll have to learn about it. But the crazy thing is, think about it. During an altercation, oh, look at that. There's a picture of the sailor that used to work in there. There's 2 of them and they're putting that missile in there. So look at the tight quarters in which they had to work. I don't know if you can see his feet and see his picture. So I was climbing out of this hole right here. That's where I was when I was talking to you guys, down these steps. And I fell down the last 2, even though I wasn't on the phone. And people made fun of me. And So this is what's crazy, and this has to be said because I'm wondering why everybody keeps staring at me. I am the only person over here now, but when I first went in that tread thing, there was a whole family. But when I came down the steps, I fell down the last 2 steps, and these people started laughing at me, the people working here. Well, then another guy came around, and he's actually got a uniform on, not a Navy uniform, but some sort of law enforcement uniform on. And apparently they have, I don't know what you would call them, inmates? Yeah, I guess you would call them inmates. Inmates work on the ship, restoring it. That's actually pretty fascinating and cool. But that's who laughed at me for falling down that ladder. And I'm whispering because they're right behind me. I thought they were all gone, but more of them came out of the building. And I don't want to embarrass anybody. I actually think what they're doing is cool. But they have inmates that restore Battleship North Carolina. And that is cool. That is a cool inmate job to have. So this is one of the mess halls in the Battleship where everybody would come to eat. And this is, ouch. Sorry, I just tripped over something. Did you hear that? This is their chapel. And the bake shop. Some of these have like good arrows and some of them the arrows are confusing, but I think it's probably because the size of the ships are confusing. This is where this bakery is. I actually think it's cool that they had fresh bread. Because at home, come on, let's be real, we don't even have fresh bread. Now it's actually making me crave fresh bread. And I don't know what this is. It looks like it's some sort of steamer, because that I think is where the bread would be cooked. Maybe this is where it rises? Oh yeah, because it has a thermometer spot. So that's where the bread was made to rise. This one has a huge kitchen. Look at that mixer. It seems like in the Navy they had like fresher food. It doesn't seem like it was MREs. It seems like it was actually stuff that was made for them to eat from scratch. Lots of potatoes, onions. That's where all the vegetables were kept. Look at those slicer blades. Holy cow. Looks like a potato pillar. It's the longest mess hall I've ever seen. This is kind of crazy. Talking about tiny homes. 4 people, 4 men shared this space. Look at how small that space is. I don't even think it's a 10 by 12. Master of Arms and the Chief Petty Officers, that's who shared that little space there. They were basically the police on board the ship. I gotta step up again, I keep tripping. This is where you would get your supplies. And you actually had to pay for this stuff. I really think it's weird that our military members have to pay for their uniform. Huh, I wonder if any of the kitchen crew made whiskey out of fermented fruits and vegetables. So the tour goes this way. The machine room. This is how the ship ran. Part of a steam engine, and it ran by steam. I apparently, sorry, I gotta step over one of those things. Don't know that much about how these ships run. But this is pretty fascinating down here. There's the pressure gauges. Now I have to go up here. See, this is where it gets crazy. And it looks bigger on camera than it is, I promise. Interesting to me, the ship had its own print shop. So it printed its own news. Which makes you wonder, could they have printed news that was different than the news back home, or news that was delayed from the news back home? Here's the laundry. See, those laundry people slept there with the laundry. Very bizarre. So on other ships it seemed like everybody slept together, but here it seems like wherever you did whatever work, you had semi-private sleeping quarters. It's where all the laundry got ironed, taken care of. Look, they worked in their chonies. There's finally a picture of a girl, like they used to have the pinup girls. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. This is where you would take your laundry to. Oh, I don't know which way I'm supposed to go. Here's the cobbler shop. Here's where he worked on shoes. Isn't it weird to even think there was a cobbler shop? There's nothing like that, well, anymore around where I live, but maybe there's probably still one in New York, and there might be one in downtown Phoenix. Giant washing machines. Here's where the seamstress guys worked. And see, they had a two flip down beds over there. This is the ship's post office. Rations and stuff. I always like looking at the old packaging for items we still have. Like there's Tootsie Roll Pops. And back there, there's Baby Ruth, Snickers, Milky Way. They actually had an ice cream machine where they could make all these different things ice cream. As kitchen stuff goes and food stuff goes, the Battleship guys were a little bit spoiled. That is actually a wishing well on the ship where you can drop money that they collect to refurbish the battleship. Gosh, here it is finally. Here's where everybody slept. Look at all these beds and look at how high up they go. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5, 10, 15, 20 in a row times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. Holy cow. Oh, and there's more over here. Even more. All the way up to the pipes. I don't know if I'd want to be the lowest guy or the highest guy. And it seems like, well, no, they're pretty still. I was thinking that if this guy in this bed turned over, the whole thing would move. But I guess not. And then here's their bathroom. Look at those toilets. That is weird. And look at where the paper is. You'd have to sit down to poo and stand up to reach your paper. I couldn't imagine somebody being that tall. You lost that when you joined the Navy. My medical friends out there, this is the autoclave. That's where they sterilize their instrumentation. This is the OR suite. Supply lockers. Oh, let's see. Now this one's open. Oh, that's where the instrument trays were. Just so you know, I'm actually lost because that sign says tour to go that way. And there's a sign over here that says tour to go that way. But I skipped a whole part over there because the arrows were going a different way. Those are diving suits. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That's super freaking cool. This is the scrub room. And there's an operating room on that other side, but I can't figure out how to get there. Wounded. Here's the OR suite. So check out those surgical lights. There's anesthesia. Look at that. Pretty crazy. And there's a picture over there of them doing surgery. Can I turn the phone enough? And supply cabinets. Pretty cool. This is where all the patients slept. Again, very close quarters for everybody. Let's see. The officers would eat and hang out and lounge. Still doesn't seem very big, does it? It's a picture of what it looked like to have some reclining chairs. This was where the medical officer slept. Had a little typewriter. Look how tiny that typewriter is. Officers, 2 of them's quarters. See a little bit of the bed. Wait, how about that? There. And then there's a top bunk in here. But what's weird is watch when I walk out. Look how close their doorways were. You can barely squeeze between the 2 doorways. The office. But look at this. These guys all got their own room too. It's crazy. It's like they just hung a bunk from the ceiling anywhere. They must have had a lot more people on this ship than those other ships. Because there are literally bunks everywhere hanging from the ceiling. This is pretty cool. So this is the whole other side of the ship. And there's 2 sets of big guns. There's that one. And then this one. I have to get to this walkway. And they told me. And then I asked why there was a walkway out there. Because it does seem kind of unusual, in all honesty. And they told me because of this sign. American alligators at the battleship. And then down here it says, the alligators are not fake. Is that not pretty cool? So there are alligators down there. That's why they have the walkway. So we're gonna go check that out. I already know by this wind and weather that it's too cold for alligators, which, by the way, North Carolina and South Carolina also have a bipolar disorder when it comes to weather, or I'm just starting to think that winter in the South is bipolar, because it was a beautiful sunny day yesterday, hung out on the beach, got a little bit of a sunburn on my shoulders, and today I'm freezing, wearing a jacket, touring a battleship. Crazy how this life works out, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. It amazes me how many guns are on a battleship. And they just go and can shoot the hell out of something, because there are 5 of those gunner guns on that side. There are 5 of the gunner guns on this side. Then there's these 3 big guns, 3 more big guns. Up there you can see the little black guns, not that I think you can call any gun little. And then some more side guns and a bunch of these gunner guns. There's just like a ton of them. But the reason I'm recording on this side is the guy told me that on this side is the symbol that shows everything this ship has done. Which I have to show you this too. There are the American flag, the North Carolina flags, and the military flags. Well, that is it for the Battleship North Carolina. This was actually pretty cool. So far I've explored 3 military ships. That's the top of one of those guns.